Welcome to the English Health Podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Today we're tackling a subject that affects all of us: ultra processed foods. Are you curious about why those convenient snacks are so hard to resist? Or how they might be impacting your energy levels and overall health? In this episode, we'll uncover the hidden ingredients, the surprising effects on our bodies, and why it's crucial to be aware of what we're putting into our diets. So, if you're looking to make healthier choices and improve your well-being, stick around. You won't want to miss this. Let's dive in.
Okay, so we want to talk about ultra-processed food. We've all been there, right? Late at night craving something salty or sweet, or both. Something intensely satisfying, even if we know deep down it's probably not the healthiest choice. But what if those cravings, those foods, are messing with us on a much deeper level?
That's what we're diving into today. We're taking a look at this BBC video, and it's really fascinating. It's a doctor who decided to basically conduct a self-experiment to show what happens when you switch to a diet of, get this, 80% ultra-processed foods.
Yeah, so we're not talking about like, oh, I felt a little sluggish after that burger. This is a doctor who normally eats pretty healthy, completely changing his diet for an entire month. And when we say ultra-processed, we're talking
Right.
like fried chicken, instant noodles, those pizzas with a cheese-stuffed crust.
It's a lot of people's, dream diet, at least initially, but
Until it's not.
exactly. And
Yeah.
and the thing is, this 80% figure, that's not as unrealistic as you might think.
Really?
1 in 5 people in the UK actually consume processed food at that level regularly. So this isn't just some extreme example for TV. It's a lot of people's reality.
Okay, so we've got this doctor, we've got a mountain of ultra-processed food, and a team of researchers. What happens?
Well, throughout this whole experiment, he's keeping this video diary. And let me tell you, he does not hold back. He's showing everything. The good, the bad, the, let's just say, regularity was not high on the list of positives.
I think a lot of our listeners can relate to that, even if they aren't exactly living on potato chips and chicken nuggets. But they were tracking everything, right?
Yeah.
Like weight, body fat, what else? Blood work.
The whole 9 yards, absolutely. And in just 4 weeks, buckle up for this one, he gained 6.5 kilograms.
6.5 kilos in a month.
In a month. That's significant weight gain, especially for someone who's committed to a healthy lifestyle normally.
No kidding. But you mentioned blood work, too. What was happening there?
This is where things get really interesting. They saw his hunger and fullness hormones, those are ghrelin and leptin, were totally out of whack. Ghrelin, which tells you you're hungry, shot up by 30%, while leptin, the one that tells you you're full, well, that one decreased.
So his body's basically in a constant state of feed me. No wonder he's craving all those hyperpalatable foods.
Exactly. And that term hyperpalatable, that's a key part of this whole thing. These foods are engineered, designed to make you crave them. They hit those reward centers in your brain and keep you coming back for more, even if your body's like, dude, I'm full.
Okay, so we've got weight gain, we've got digestive issues, and we've got this whole hormonal symphony going haywire. What happens when you introduce ultra-processed foods to, the most complex organ in the human body, the brain?
Well, that's where things took a bit of a turn. Before and after the 30 days, they had him undergo brain scans, and the results were, well, let's just say they were interesting.
Okay, now you have to tell us, what did the scans show?
They found new connections had formed in his brain, specifically between the reward centers and the areas responsible for, habitual behavior, almost like automatic responses.
So hold on, what does that mean, really? Like, how does that actually affect how he thinks or acts?
Imagine, a well-worn path in a forest. You keep taking that same path, and it becomes more and more defined, right? Same thing happens in our brains when we repeatedly do something rewarding. The more we do it, the stronger that connection becomes. These scans suggest that even just a month of eating these foods can create those pathways, those superhighways in the brain, making it that much harder to resist those cravings.
Oh, wow. So it's almost like his brain is being rewired to crave those foods, almost like an addiction.
That's the big question, right? It's something researchers are still trying to figure out. But these findings definitely show a connection between ultra-processed foods and, literally the way our brains work.
That reminds me of a time I tried to cut out sugar for a month. I was so gung-ho about it, so motivated. I was so gung-ho about it, so motivated, and it was tough. Those cravings were no joke.
It's amazing how powerful those cravings can be. We like to think we're all about willpower and self-control, but this experiment really shows you how strong those biological forces are. We're hardwired to want these foods.
Almost like we're fighting a losing battle with our own biology,
Mm.
So if this is what happens after 30 days, what does that mean for people who are eating these foods all the time, for years? What about kids growing up on this stuff?
And that's a question that really got to the doctor in this video. And keep in mind, he's an obesity expert. Even he was taken aback by these results. Like, he was so concerned he actually changed his whole family's diet.
Wow. If an obesity expert is changing how his family eats because of this, it makes you wonder what it means for kids, for their brains.
Yeah, and that's something researchers are looking into now. We already know that children's brains are constantly forming new connections. They're incredibly adaptable, but that means they're also really vulnerable to what's going on around them, including what they're eating.
So we don't have all the answers yet, but it seems like a pretty big red flag.
For sure. We need more research into the long-term effects of these foods, especially for kids.
It really makes you think. We talk about the obesity crisis, but what if that's just like the beginning? What if these ultra-processed foods are affecting us even more deeply, changing our brains, our behavior in ways we don't even realize yet?
It's pretty sobering when you think about it. And it's bigger than just individual health, too. It affects our whole society.
Oh, absolutely. It makes you think about healthcare costs, our healthcare system in general, even productivity, people's well-being. This is a huge issue.
It's systemic. We need systemic solutions.
So what do? We can't just snap our fingers and make all the ultra-processed food disappear.
That's true. But we can start talking about it. This experiment shows how important knowledge is. The doctor saw these results and changed his family's habits. When you know more, you can make better choices.
Love that. It's about empowerment, not scaring people.
Yeah.
So knowledge is power. But what else can we do besides, tossing out everything in our pantries and swearing off potato chips forever?
Well, there's a lot we can do. Policy changes would be huge. Some countries have taxes on sugary drinks, and that seems to be working. People are drinking less of them.
Right. Make the healthy choice the easy choice.
Right.
And education, too. Like, what if we actually taught kids about food in a way that's engaging and makes them think, not just, boring textbook stuff?
Exactly. Education is so important, and not just for kids, for everyone. The more we know about these foods and how they're marketed, the better we can fight back. We can make informed choices.
Okay, so we've talked about the problem and some potential solutions. But for the average person listening right now, maybe feeling a little overwhelmed, maybe a little scared even, what's the takeaway?
For me, it's awareness. Pay attention to what you're eating. Read labels. Learn about the ingredients. Like we said, knowledge is power. The more you know, the easier it is to make healthy choices.
And don't beat yourself up. This isn't about being perfect. You can still have a slice of pizza or a bag of chips every now and then. It's about balance. It's about moderation. It's about making informed choices.
Exactly. Take control of your health one bite at a time.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed, right? There's so much marketing. These foods are everywhere. It's tough. But you're right. Knowledge really is power.
Just talking about this, digging into the research, it's a step in the right direction.
It is. And small changes add up. You don't have to change your whole life overnight. Maybe swap out a bag of chips for, some food or some nuts. Cook at home more. Little things like that can make a big difference over time.
Okay, so big picture, we started by asking, what happens when you eat too many ultra-processed foods? And turns out the answer is more complicated and a lot more concerning than we might have thought. We've seen how these foods can make you gain weight, how they can mess with your hormones, even rewire your brain to want more. And that can lead to, a lifetime of health problems. And it's scary because there's still a lot we don't know, especially when it comes to kids.
Right. This doctor changes his diet for a month, and it has a huge impact on him, both physically and mentally. And let's be real, his diet wasn't that different from what a lot of people eat every day.
Yeah, it really makes you think. We're not just eating for right now, Every food choice we make, it's like an investment in our future health.
So where do we go from here? Hopefully you're listening to this and you feel like, okay, I know more now. I can make better choices.
Exactly. And if you want to dive deeper, check out the BBC video. We'll link it in the show notes. It's definitely worth a watch.
As always, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you found some valuable insights about ultra-processed foods. I can't wait to share more with you next time. Until then, take care and stay healthy. See you soon.